8 years after the original, we returned to Motunui and the surrounding ocean with Moana 2. This was directed by David G. Derrick Jr., Jason Hand, and Dana Ledoux Miller. Miller wrote the screenplay with Jared Bush, and both of those developing the story with Beck Smith. We have Moana coming back herself, auli'i Cravalho, as well as Dwayne Johnson as Maui. Tamara Morrison returns, as do a lot of people, but we have an interesting inclusion in Samaya, Moana's sister, voiced by Khaleesi Lambert-Suda. We're now in the world where people named after Game of Thrones are in films. That's unsettling in so many ways. But I'm not here to talk about people's naming choices, of course. I really enjoyed the first one. I did a video way back when, of course, and I think my feelings on it are very well known if you watch that. The respect they showed to Polynesian culture by including them in the process and making young girls and boys and non-binary people of that area have people who they can see on screen who look like them. It's a big part of when kids are growing up. Like, white kids have so many Disney role models, but people in different cultures are only really starting to get that in the last few decades. Yes, I know it's been a long process, but yeah, it's getting better. It's nice to see that representation. And I do appreciate all of the, respect that was shown by that inclusion. So with this, my hopes were low because I've seen so many sequels, particularly of Disney stuff, strangely enough, that is literally they just want more money or they're setting up something. And I think this has an element of setting up something. I don't think this is necessarily meant to stand on its own. Of course, as a sequel, it will build on what came before. But I think there's elements of it, particularly the end stinger as well, that it's clear that there is a follow-on that they're trying to plan here, like a meeting of the gods and things like that. I don't think that's a great move. I really think that would be not... It would make this very much feel like the middle child. That's what I came out of the cinema saying. I was like, this feels like it's the middle child. It doesn't add as much as I would like. It does add some stuff, and I appreciate some of the expansion. The fact that we have Tautai Vasa, who was the guy that we saw in the We Know the Way bit. Now we have a backstory to him. He was this great wayfarer. So this is the role that Moana is stepping into now by returning them to voyaging. And having that connection to the past, I love that. I do like that fleshing out. One of the problems I have with this, when I think about the first film, like there are so many, I could sing half of those songs very easily. And yes, okay, there's been time, I've had years to think about it, and I've released one, but none of the songs here stayed with me once I left. I can barely think of any now. I know what they were, like I know the content, but I can't tell you any of the lyrics, I can't tell you the beat. Like the Can I Get a Chihu? Really good empowering song, sung by a man rather than the woman it's empowering, but that's a whole other issue. Like, I don't remember much of it. That's all I remember, some of the visuals. There were some of the callbacks, like We Know the Way came back at the end, and we had one of my favourite pieces that hurts me, if that makes sense, in An Innocent Warrior coming back. We had a version of it when Samea's shown how the ocean reacts to Moana. That song always gets me crying, because the backstory is really sad. I was going to sort of go into it a bit, but I can feel the emotion coming, so I'm not going to... Look it up yourself, the backstory of An Innocent Warrior. It is a repurposed song, and that will always speak to me. But that was the most emotional connection I made with this film. I want to like it. I love this world. I love the idea of representing an underrepresented culture. But I just don't feel this was necessary. What we could have done is maybe a more compressed version of some of the early parts and then have the battle with the gods at the end. That would have felt more fulfilling to me. This does very much feel like it's setting up, giving us a bit of what's happened in between. Like, yeah, you can see that these people are better for returning to voyaging. Their lives have been enriched and now connecting with others across the ocean. That's got great merit to work on and move forward from. But that's not what this film does. It just sets that up. That's what I keep coming back to. This is a setup film. That's what it feels like. Frozen 2, thinking of a sequel that's relatively recent that I've seen, was a much better idea of this. It was that expansion. It wasn't just... Right, we're going to set up we're going to sort of follow on what happened, set up some stuff, and then we'll do a third one. Frozen 2 felt very complete. That's what this is lacking. But I will still say, I don't think I wasted my time seeing it. I thought it was a very fine film. Would I give it a 6? Happily. Would I give it a 7? Maybe. Again, I keep doing these intermittent ratings. But I don't think what it added was enough. So I'll reserve judgment, see if there is a third one. That might make me look back on this better, or worse, depending. But on its own merits, if you enjoyed the first one, watch it. It's kind of more of the same in some ways, which is kind of its undoing. But if you really didn't like the first one, this isn't going to change your mind, I do not think. And I think you're weird for watching sequels without watching the first one anyway. But those are my thoughts on Moana 2. I mean, let me know what you thought, if you think I'm wrong. I know my partner does. She loved it. That's fine. But you're all wrong. No. If you enjoyed this, you know, that's fine. Art is subjective. But yeah, that's all I want to say. So next week we'll finally get to that project, a two-parter, unless anything else comes my way. But we know what happens with me. But until then, thank you very much for watching. And as always, take care.